Awesome. Thank you so much. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Finance for January 14th, 2021. I'm Lainey McHugh, the chair of the board. I'd like everybody to take a moment, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence in remembrance of 3 people who've passed in the last few weeks. Our condolences go out to Anthony and Kathy Musto on the passing of her mother, Carol Melton, and also to the family of Joseph Schlee. Joe ran for town council in 2015 and had served previously as a Board of Finance alternate. He remained very active with the Democratic Town Committee well into his 90s, as long as his health permitted. And also, Town of Trumbull lost Stephen Wright, who was our former Board of Education chair, a member of the State Board of Education, and a previous town council member as well. So if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. On the call this evening, you'll see the Board of Finance members, Marty Isaac, Michael Barker, Paul Timpanelli, Elaine Hammers, and Stephen Choi, and our alternates, Mark Mascola, Christine Eliris, and Vin DiGennaro. Our First Selectman, Vicky Tesoro, our Town Attorney, Daniel Shopik, Kathy McGannon from the First Selectman's Office, and Joe Fazzi, our Bond Counsel. Do we have anybody interested in public comment this evening? I see 2 attendees, but I don't see any hands. Okay, so we'll move on. I don't believe we have a town treasurer's report this evening. I don't see Anthony on the call. Maria?
There is a report attached. He does have a report.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions on the report? If there's any questions, we can send them to Mr. Musto at a later time. Okay. I also spoke with our internal auditor, Therese Keegan. She and I discussed our upcoming audits. She will have for us next month, hopefully, the completed update on the special agency accounts ahead of our budget discussions. So we'll be looking for that for the February meeting. And then Mr. Timpanelli, if you would move the lease agreement forward, please.
Yes, item number 0121-01 for $752,087.06. Tashma Knowles 2021 lease finance authorizing resolution. Resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Trumbull authorizing the execution and delivery of an equipment lease purchase agreement with respect to certain equipment for the Tashma Knowles Golf Course, authorizing the execution and delivery of documents required in connection therewith, and authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary for the consummation of the transactions contemplated by this resolution. I will move that.
This resolution is, which is the subject of this meeting, is available to the public on the town website. Is there a motion and a second that the resolution be adopted as introduced and to incorporate the full text of the resolution in the minutes?
I will move that.
And a second? Michael, thank you. Discussion? We have with us today Joe Gaudiano and Don Esbach from the Golf Commission.
Need a vote on that motion, Madam Chair, before you move forward.
I'm sorry. So the motion is to accept the lease agreement and to read the full text into the minutes. Does that need to be a roll call vote, Dan?
Mr. Fazzi said yes, so I'll say yes.
Okay, so we'll go by the roll call. Paul Timpanelli?
Yes.
Michael Barker?
Yes.
Marty Isaac?
Yes.
Elaine Hammers,
Yes.
Steve Choi,
Yes.
and Laney McHugh, yes. Okay, motion passes 6-0. Discussion, Mr. Gaudiano?
Yeah, we come before you tonight. We passed it unanimously on the golf course, but we approved a 5-year term of 103,283 per year, with a balloon payment of $244,500 due at the end of the lease. We had 3 bids on this. We had E-Z-GO, we had Club Car, and Yamaha. Yamaha could not offer lithium batteries, so we only compared E-Z-GO and Club Car. At the end of the day, the cheapest option was to do what they call a commercial lease, but we didn't build any equity in the carts. So basically, we didn't have that balloon payment due at the end. But at the end of the term, they just were returned immediately to E-Z-GO. The second cheapest option was to buy them outright, but the batteries are only warranted for 5 years. And after year 5, we would be responsible for replacing them, and they cost upwards of $1,000 per battery. So we decided on the E-Z-GO balloon payment to build equity in the carts and to have a warranty.
Thank you. Questions?
Laney,
Marty?
one question. Can you, how does this
Marty?
compare to previously how you've done this? Can you just?
Yeah, so lithium carts this is only the 2nd year they're available for golf courses. Previously, it was battery carts that were significantly cheaper. It was about $75,000 per year for the lease. However, their batteries were only warranted for up to 4 years, where they demanded that you sign a 5-year lease. So this past year, we spent a significant amount of money replacing batteries in the carts of our current fleet.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Phyllis, will you call the roll call vote?
Did you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Okay, Paul Cusinelli,
Yes.
Michael Barker,
Yes.
Marty Isaac,
Yes.
Elaine Hammers,
Yes.
Choi,
Yes.
Laney McHugh.
Yes.
Okay.
The motion passes, and I declare the resolution adopted. You have new go-karts. Yay!
Thank you, everyone.
I think that was the easiest thing we've done all along.
Perfect.
All right, moving on in our agenda this evening, discussion items, town COVID-related expenses and reimbursements. Maria, do you have good news for us?
I do. We got reimbursement from both FEMA and the state CRF fund. If you look at the schedule I provided to you, it's right after the lease documents. So we submitted to FEMA 367,000 in expenses. 222,000 was town and 145 was Board of Ed. Federal reimbursed us 231,000, and the CRF reimbursed us for 154,000. That was only up to June 30th, 2020. So basically the reimbursements are higher than the expenses incur, which is about 18,000. And the reason being is that the state CRF initially wanted us to request reimbursement after FEMA approved the file, and basically there was a delay in the government to accept the file. So CRF asked the towns to submit whatever ineligible FEMA expenses and get reimbursed for it. They require quite a bit of documentation, and I think they got overwhelmed with all, personally, I just think they got overwhelmed with all the documentation that they had to audit it from all the different towns. So after that, they decided they were just going to do it on a formula basis, on population formula basis. So subsequent to that, subsequent to June, we had expenses of 227,000, and we received a check from CRF for 308,000. So we had a excess of 81,000. So in total, we received 99,000 extra because of the CRF coming up with a different formula. And we haven't submitted any request to FEMA for the September and December quarters because they haven't opened up the system yet. So, but
Maria, what do we anticipate for expenses for those 2 quarters?
the 227,000, and FEMA usually reimburses 75% of what they determine to be eligible. So that could be more funding coming. However, the CRF states that additional funds can be, of the excess funds, a portion can be offset some police salaries and benefits and health care workers. So, but they gave us no guidance as to how to allocate those reimbursements. So we're still waiting on guidance from them.
Anybody have any questions?
Maria? Yeah, Maria, if I'm hearing you correctly, that means as of today, we have $99,000 more in revenue than we do in identified expenses.
Correct.
And if the answer to that is yes, then what is our intent with regard to the use of that at this point, if any?
Well, according to the state, we can offset expenses in the operating budget of the police, EMS, health department, but we haven't got any guidance as how to split it up. We may have to decide on our own how to split it based on, any activity that they did that's related to COVID.
Hey Maria, it sounded like you're also going to submit the same 222 or 227 to FEMA, and there's a potential that they reimburse
70.
some, so that would increase the amount of excess that we would receive.
That's correct.
Is there no obligation to return the funds?
No, because we have provided them with the documentation justifying all the expenses. And FEMA will just, initially they were going to deny some of the ineligible, they were going to make some ineligible reimbursements, but they didn't deny anything. So as far as we know, we don't have to return anything.
Okay.
Well, the reason being is the state gave us more money than we submitted for reimbursement because they changed their formula method. They used a population formula instead of actual expenses. So I'm sure some cities or towns will probably get less than what they expended, and some towns like us will receive more. But that's how they determined it.
Maria, also, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the reimbursement here has happened relatively quickly.
Yes, yes.
This is not typical with regard to FEMA transactions, is it?
Well, the FEMA took a long time, actually, and that's why we had to wait for FEMA. Initially, the state wanted us to wait for FEMA to approve their funding before we could have submitted to the state. And then they changed their mind. CRF says, just send to us whatever FEMA determined to be ineligible. And then the state, within a couple weeks, they submitted us the second check of the 308,000. It was fairly quick. The federal took a long time. The state was very quick.
Okay, just a quick reminder,
Seems like
just a quick reminder, Mr. Chopek's giving me the eyes. Everybody needs to announce themselves when they speak, and Michael's been patiently waiting with his hand up, so I'm gonna let Michael go next.
No, Maria answered my question without my asking it. Gift horse.
Oh, there we go.
Gift horse, let's not look it in the mouth, yeah?
All right, excellent, thank you. Anybody else? I'm sorry about that. Paul, did you have another question?
I did not, thank you.
All right, Marty? No? All right. That was actually nice. We got good news and everything. All right, moving on. Fund balance report, Maria.
Sorry, Lainey.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine, go ahead.
It's okay. I just seen Elaine Hammers, board member. I have a quick question, Maria. Will some of this then be going to the Board of Ed, I assume?
Yes, that portion, you have Board of Ed, approximately 198,000 will be given to the Board of Ed.
So will they be getting excess also?
I'm not sure. Well, yeah, they are.
Yeah,
They
looks
are.
like they're getting 53,000
Yes,
excess.
correct, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the fund balance, Maria.
So we completed our audit and the fund balance the unassigned unrestricted fund balance was 24,000,001. And so we backed out the 5,000 in supplementals and the 2 million aid that we're going to use out of surplus, and the anticipated fund balance at the end of June 2021 as of right now is 21,000,003, which is 11.9% of the current expenditures.
It's about where we expected to be.
Yeah, actually, when I reported on in September, I expected it to be 24,000,001. That was my projection.
That's pretty good. Any questions?
As the beginning fund balance here, yeah.
Yeah. We're all good with that? Excellent. Moving on to year to date, always the fun one. Maria, you want to hit the highlights?
Okay, so salaries are 50% expended for the most part unless they had vacancies in the department, which is where we should be right now. Some departments had retirees, so they're incurring like seasonal, take for example, on page 2, tax assessor has some seasonal temp employees because they had someone that retired in the department and they're currently in the process of filling that position. And it's similar in the tax collector's office. On page, any questions there?
So far?
On page 3, employee benefits, which is always a concern with the workers' comp, we're about 32% spent, 30.9 expended. But we did have some large claims this year, this month actually, because of, we closed out some old files. They're very old. So what does this do to, by paying these old claims, we'll be reducing our reserve. We wouldn't have to have so much of a reserve. The unemployment, it's over budget. And I think I explained last time that we're waiting for the state to reimburse us for COVID-related unemployment, which was, it's very delayed at the state.
Maria, none of those dollars are included within the earlier report you gave on FEMA reimbursements for unemployment?
No, these are actual payments. We pay as we go. I'm sure you know that. And then the state, once they receive funding from FEMA, they reimburse to the town and reduce the monthly payment to the towns by that amount. So that amount was probably, I don't have the exact amount, but I'm sure is impacted by that reduction. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Page 4, we have under town hall, the account extraordinary items as 311,000. That has to do with the storm Isaias. And we just received communication that it will qualify as a FEMA reimbursement. So we're in the process of getting all that information together to submit to FEMA. Not sure when we'll get it back, but at least it's eligible for reimbursement. Police, page 5, their overtime is 50% spent, which is where they should be. Even though I think they incur a lot overtime because they had some officers that had to be out due to COVID, and other officers were called in to work overtime. Page 6, we have EMS, which again, they have someone on maternity leave, so they have someone that's as a seasonal helping out. So that's why that account is over budget. But they have enough, they'll have enough to cover in salaries, full-time. Page 8, emergency management. Under emergency service, you'll see 90,000, and that's related to COVID payroll-related expenses for this fiscal year, which they incorporated in that reimbursement that I talked about earlier.
So Maria, will that be put into that line item afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions while she's looking at the next point? Marty? And then Christine?
So overall, if I look at the grand total of 44%, do you happen to know what that number was last year? I didn't have my report handy. So 44% grand total, and we're halfway through. How did we look last year?
I don't know. But you know what impacts that total would be the COVID expenses that we didn't have last year. Well, we had some of them last year, but we didn't have the storm Isaiah's in this figure too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense. Are we doing better or worse relative to,
Yeah, it's really hard to say because they're not, the expenses have changed from last year. Obviously, the salaries went up, the fringe benefits went up, but they were budgeted the same way. So I could look at last year and see if I can.
Yeah, actually, if you could do that as a follow-up, I would like to know relative to how our run rate looks. So we're at 44%. We're halfway through the year. Hopefully, we're doing a little bit better because I know when we get to revenues, we're doing worse. But we'll get there.
Yeah, right. Well, you'll see, for example, Department Parks and Rec, you'll see their budgets are under expended because they don't run programs. For example, on page 13, you'll see that recreation's budget is only 29% spent.
Yep.
And part of it has to do with the program expenses because they didn't have any programs that ran this year. So there's only 23% spent in that account, and at this time probably would have a lot less in there.
If that's something we can incorporate into these reports going forward, last year, as of this time, where the account percentage was, that would be helpful if that was something that could get run into that.
It's one of those special reports we have to run. Okay. The source document is Munis. I really don't like providing other documents, other reports that are in Excel format. Anybody can manipulate that data. But like we did with the revenue, we can look into, see if we can do the same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the timing that's a problem. Once you finish the year, it's a little more complicated to get that information, but we'll look into that.
Okay.
Christine?
Sure, Christina Laris, alternate. This is really a curiosity question on page 4 under town clerk. There's a couple line items that had no appropriation originally, and there's some small expenditures there. I was just curious if that was something that was just an oversight or mistake, or something that maybe in the final budget process, there was an effort at the end in town council to cut a few things that may have gotten cut. Just curious.
There were actually, the seasonal employees had to be hired for the elections. And I thought we applied all the state revenue to the account, but I will look into that because it might have been applied to a wrong account. That's a good question. The same thing with the supplies. I believe they had to do with the elections.
Any other questions to now? Okay, sorry for the interruption, Maria.
That's okay. Well, we talk about recreation, we could talk about parks because it's the same issue. As you can see, their budget's only, well, it's 46% completed. That's because even though they haven't used the fields, there is still an encumbrance or a purchase order committed for the fields. May be that we won't spend that whole 144,000 that is encumber, and you'll know, yeah, basically that department is, other than the fields, it's pretty standard there.
Elaine?
Yeah, Maria, I would assume even if they're not playing on the fields, they do still have to mow them and maintain them. Whatever they normally do to them, lime them, whatever, fertilizer.
Yeah, they will. I'm not sure. I think this contract also adds additional work that needed to be done if they mess up the field or they have to do additional lining, etc. So yeah, you're probably right.
Okay. Any other questions on the field usage? Maria, I'm assuming that they're going to negotiate with them, kind of like the bus contracts for the Board of Ed, that if we weren't using the fields, that they'll be adjusted?
I think Dimitri's handling that. I believe there was also, I believe their contract was expiring this December, if I'm not mistaken. It may be out to bid.
Okay.
I can get more details on that. I don't
Yeah,
have it right now.
I'll also send to Dimitri. I have some questions about the scanning that he brought up during the discussion for the 5-year capital plan. I was wondering what he talked about per pages for contracts for per pages to have people come in to do the scanning. I was wondering what that actually costs, and would we be better off hiring even a part-timer to just scan documents, college intern or something like that? Would that be more cost effective if we're going to look at that going into budget season? So when you send that to Dimitri, can you include that question?
Sure.
It'll be nice to talk about that before we get to the budget or the capital plan. Any other questions right now? Can we move on? Okay, Maria.
Yeah. I was looking at Public Works. The rentals are up and page 8, and that has to do with the extra equipment they had to use for leaf pickup and et cetera, because instead of hiring a staffing company, they decided to rent equipment instead to avoid infecting our personnel. Anybody has any questions? I went through it. I didn't see anything else that jumped at me.
Very good. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to revenues.
Dan Martin worked on this revenue spreadsheet, and I know last month the board asked for a comparative December to December. Unfortunately, I know that the tax collector doesn't reflect December's receipts because they're not posted until it's reconciled, and it's early in the year, in the month. So it'll probably be done maybe next week. And the same thing with the other revenue. We post twice a month, on the 15th and on the 30th. So even though, and we'll remember for next time, we should be comparing November to November. So a month before, because this way it will show all postings to date.
Marty?
Yeah, good. Maria, Marty Isaac, I just a quick question then. Is that the explanation why on the interest income, on the first page we went through, interest income was 136,000, but here it shows is 122. So maybe that's the reason you missed half the final month.
I'm sure the last part of the month is not showing here.
Okay, I was trying to understand why it was different than Anthony's report. That would make sense.
What did you see, the 100 and something?
On the
Oh, the year to date. The year to date?
122,
yeah,
the 122 number.
Okay,
on the earlier report, it showed interest of 136,000.
yeah, that, I will double check, but I believe it's that.
Okay, that makes, I was
Actually-
trying to understand why it wouldn't match. Thank you.
Actually, once that posting was done, I had someone print that report for me. Hold on.
So Maria, Paul Timpanelli here. So when we now publish this revenue report, it is defined as of December. What does that mean? December 1st, December 31st?
It should be December 31st. But as
31st,
I,
right?
yeah, as I said, after I reviewed this report, I noticed that the December 2021 is actually November because the posting hasn't been done for December. It's posted the subsequent month. So on
Is it
December,
easy enough?
I'm
Is
sorry.
it easy enough to rerun this at the end of the month?
Oh, no, they actually already posted it, at the 15th, they already posted it. The problem is I think I need to provide a report. It should have been November to November because that would have been a better comparison because both of those years, the postings would have been done at that time. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Marty and Michael, is this what you were looking for?
It is, it's helpful. And maybe what would be helpful, Maria, as we go through the large variances here, get a sense of if there are any other extraneous factors we can be aware of. We talked a little bit about recreation, for example, recreation is
I was going to get to
1%
it.
was in last year, it's 8% in.
Correct.
Apparently we didn't run any programs.
Right.
Emergency medical services, we're at 34% compared to 52%. Building officials, 39% compared to 80%. So maybe on just some of the larger items, if they're, maybe that's where we are, or maybe some additional information that we shouldn't be as worried. And in totality, when you look at the grand total, it's 54% last year versus 51.2 right now. So that's given everything that's going on, I guess that's probably pretty good. I just wanted to know if you're aware of any other factors we should take into account.
Well, the permitting departments are to determine, what permits are coming in and what month. I mean, that last December could have been better than this December.
Yeah.
Let me see. Like I said,
Maybe the emergency medical service one is worthy to talk about. That's a big number. Last year they were at 52%. We're at 34%. Is there? And I know we were making changes, but do you have any more information on that? Why it would be so different?
I do not, but it could be a lag in collecting on the billing. They might have billed December and may collect it a couple months later. They have a billing company and, they send it to the insurance companies. And by the time we get it from the insurance companies, it could be delayed.
Would that not show last year as well?
Yeah. It would be the same last year, unless they might be more delayed this year. I will find out.
Yeah, that seemed to be the biggest issue from my eyes as I was going through it. I mean, building, I understand what you're saying. But that's 80% versus 39%, but timing is the timing of when people take the permits, I suppose.
Maria, when you ask Lee for that information, would you ask her if there were a decreased number of transports due to COVID? maybe there were more calls or less calls, but due to COVID that they weren't transporting as many people. And then Vicky, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, well, this is Vicky Tesoro for Selectmen. I was just going to say the same thing. I believe that their call volume may actually be down because of COVID, believe it or not. So that may have an impact on these numbers. So we should get that information. Ask for it.
Michael Barker?
Yeah, and I know that some version of the Michael Barker Board of Finance member, I know that some version of this question has been asked probably by Marty before, and I know he asked some version of it with regard to expenses earlier, but is there a point at which, and this is only my second time through the year, but is there a point at which in the year you ask or someone asks departments to do year-end forecasts? You know, because right now we have 6 months left in the year, and so we could just add the to go to what we have and say that's pretty much the way the way it runs. But I mean, someone would know when that wasn't appropriate and could point out to us that it's going to come low or high.
Yeah, we do that part of the budget process when we provide you the revenues with the budget. We look at the historical for 2 years. I mean, this year is unusual, and determine what the next 6 months will be like. We do project.
All right. So during the budget process, we'll see that again.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Just a follow-up, Marty, I did ask that the progress towards goals. I know that Dan was sending stuff out to the departments, so they hope to have some information for us back. The departments will be preparing their budget as part of their budget, but the forms went out to them at your request last month.
Thank you. And just one more comment, Marty Isaac, again, just so we're all on the same page, to size the emergency medical services. I mean, if our rate continues as is, that's a $500,000 variance relative to what we projected.
Maria gave us just a moment of happiness and Marty just took it away. Thank you. All right, any other questions on the revenues? Come on, somebody end on a positive note. All right, never mind. Moving on in our agenda, approval of the minutes from December 10th. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move their approval.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Discussion, comments, corrections?
Hearing none.
I was just going to say, I just got to the second page. If there's no corrections, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as written for December 10th, 2020, raise your hand.
Aye.
1, 2, 3. Oh, thank you, Elaine. I'm sorry. I forgot your video was off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6-0. Motion passes. And then just before we adjourn, Michael, you pointed out that there was a correction to make for our dates.
Yes, the special meeting in June, or the 2 special meetings in June, are listed as Monday, June 10th, but June 10th is a Thursday.
Maria, do we know if that was supposed to be Thursday, June 10th, or for that actual Monday?
The special meeting, you mean
Yeah. Monday is not the 10th. Thursday would be the 10th.
Well, I think it's the first Monday of the month.
So then it would be, going to the calendar, it would be Monday, June 7th?
7th, yeah.
There's a town council meeting that night, Madam Chair, if that makes a difference.
I don't know. Does it make a difference, Mr. Shopik?
I don't know.
Mrs. Tesoro?
Well, I mean, if it would be best not to have, both the Board of Finance and Town Council meeting on the same evening, but
Do we have to set the mill rate on that Monday? Is that the last date that we can set it? Or can we set it on the Thursday? So it has to be, so
No later than that Monday.
can we go the Thursday before to June 3rd?
hopefully
Yeah, I
we'll
would
have
say
a
so.
budget from the state of Connecticut,
No, you
Wow.
could, but the state won't be finished.
right?
Well, I don't think, will they be finished on the 7th? Probably not.
Probably not.
They adjourn the 6th, I believe. Hang on,
Sixth is a-
I'm in the wrong
sixth is a
month.
Sunday.
Give me a second.
And we want the town council.
Go to June. They're going to be done the 9th. They're done, I believe it's the second Wednesday of the month of June. And I thought the
I
whole
think you're right.
point of all those date changes that they allowed and the town council voted on was to get us not having set a mill rate until the state was finished. So Maria, you think the 7th is the last
Let me
possible
see.
day or the 10th?
I'm looking. I have notes here.
Wasn't that the whole point of the change?
Yeah.
It was, Elaine, yeah.
Yeah.
So we probably, I think they go from the second Monday to the second Wednesday to the second Wednesday.
While you're looking for that, can I just request when we're set with the dates? I'm not sure I had in my calendar all the department meeting dates as well. So if we get
No, that's
one,
coming next.
oh, okay.
We haven't
So
gotten that far yet.
I see.
Mr. Shopek?
Madam Chair, the town council does have the option of changing the dates. That statute that was used last year is still in existence.
So they could give us an extra week if we ask nicely?
If you have to ask very nicely, yes.
Okay.
It says, this is what I have written down. The Board of Finance will set the mill rate based on town council double budget no later than the second Monday in June, second Monday. So, which was,
The 14th.
yeah,
So we could go to the 10th then.
Yeah.
So why don't we just change that to read Thursday?
the 10th.
Yes, Thursday, June 10th.
But didn't Elaine say that the state only finishes on the 10th?
They finish on the 9th,
9th.
The 9th, okay.
but will that be enough time for all the numbers to get to Maria?
No, no,
Then we can push to the 14th and then that avoids the
yeah.
town council. Does the 14th work for everyone? I'm sorry, Mr. Shopek?
I don't think that should not be a problem from my
Okay.
point of view.
Okay. So Monday, June 14th. Does that give the question that we had is, does that give the tax collector time to get the bills out for July 1?
She needs a week to let the vendor know. So I will double check with her.
Okay, let's do that. And we'll make sure that it's set for the next meeting.
So is the 10th off the calendar?
Well, if the state doesn't set their stuff until the 9th, that doesn't give Maria enough time to fiddle with the numbers. So that gives her through the weekend to do that. Maria, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll double check on that.
No
And then the other discussion which we started at our last meeting is our department hearings for the budget. We talked about whether or not we wanted to do them in full day hearings on Zoom, or if we wanted to break it up as far as that. So I believe we were looking at the Tuesdays in March because Maria asked us never ever again to put them on Mondays if possible. So we were looking at Tuesday, March 9th and Tuesday, March 16th. If we did them in 2 days like we normally do, that's a long time in front of a computer screen. Is there appetite to break it into smaller chunks? How would you guys like to handle that? Anybody?
I have a soft preference to doing it in large chunks for fewer days.
Okay.
I think I'm probably with you. This is Marty, Isaac. I'm with you as well. And I also think it's going to go a lot faster You're not waiting for people in and out. They're just going into Zoom, and I have a feeling we're going to make our way through a lot more quickly.
Okay. So tentatively, should we set those dates as Tuesday, March 9th and Tuesday, March 16th? That work with our timeline, Vicky? Vicky, you're on mute.
I know my dog is barking, so. It's great.
Well, at least he's not pooping in the foyer like last night.
What
all right.
about the budget hearings? Oh, you have the Board of Ed, the public hearings.
Public hearings, yeah.
So we usually do one evening and one Saturday morning. So I don't believe we run into difficulty in March with, if we look at either Saturday the 13th or the 20th for public comment. And
According to the schedule, you have to vote on your budget no later than Monday, April 12th.
right, so if we went with Saturday the 20th for the public hearing that's on a Saturday morning, that gives them time to hear the departments and make comment on that. Does that work?
It's fine for me.
Yep.
Saturday, March 20th? Anybody see any schedule holiday conflicts, anything like that?
Passover's the 27th, so you're fine.
Okay, good. And then do we want to have the evening public comment session? Do we want to tack it on to the 16th when we've already been on Zoom all day, or do we want to go to the following week to the 23rd?
Lainey, it's Elaine Hammers.
Yep.
I would question, given we're doing it on Zoom, and it's not really an issue of people being able to get out, and people are working from home, so the commuting to get back, do we need one besides the Saturday?
I think our rules are, I think it was written in the thing that we hold 2 hearings. I can double check to make sure.
I'm just saying, we did the Saturday, so seniors who didn't want to drive at night could come out on a Saturday, and we did the weeknight because people had games and, they were out with their kids on Saturday, all of which is kind of not happening right now.
No.
I don't care, I'm just...
Well, I would think the sports are actually starting up again as of a Monday. Who knows how long that will continue, but right now that's the plan. So, and you also have 2 Board of Ed meetings you need to put in here somewhere, 2 evening meetings with the Board of Ed. So, you'll get the budget on March 1st. And you have until April 12th. So you have a pretty good length of time in there. So maybe you want to, have one of these hearings a little bit later than the
If we went to March 30th?
You also, maybe you should schedule those Board of Ed meetings first, because you usually like to, let the Board of Ed have
We
their
usually do
time.
those. We usually do those earlier. So if we're starting with the department meetings on the 9th, we usually do the Monday night before, which was the 8th. But will that coincide with a town council meeting on March 8th?
No, the March 1st is the council meeting. That's the
So-
first Monday in March.
Does Monday night, March 8th work for the Board of Education?
Well, you'd have to.
Well,
check it.
I mean, for us first.
For us, yeah.
For
well,
us to meet with the Board of Education?
Yep.
March 8th.
And then
Board
you're
of
going to start all day March 9th, right after that meeting, the night before?
Yep. I think that's what we've done the last few years. And then I would like
the
to,
2nd last year. You did Monday the 2nd, and then you met the 9th, the following Monday.
right. So if we
It
do,
might
we
be
could,
helpful not to do it back to back, and
How about Tuesday, March 2nd? Does that coincide then? If it's does it give them a problem if there's a Board of Ed meeting scheduled that night? Because they're still the first and third or the second and fourth Tuesdays?
I think they're the second and
Okay.
fourth, I believe. We can check that quickly.
So that would allow us to do March 2nd. And then I would like to have one later, perhaps the 23rd for them.
Yeah, we need a fair amount of time between the two meetings, yeah.
Okay, and then March 23rd. I will reach out to the Board of Education, to Lucinda, and ask if those dates work for them.
Their meetings are on the 9th and the 18th.
They have a Board of Ed meeting on March 9th and March 23rd.
There it is.
Okay, so the
No,
23rd wouldn't work for them. All right, why don't we start with March 2nd and we'll figure out when that second meeting can be. We'll have the public hearings on the 20th. And why don't we use March 23rd? Well, I'll look for the second public hearing, and we have our two dates of the 9th and the 16th for our hearings with the departments. Does that work so far?
Mhm.
Okay. I don't need a motion to vote on that, do I, Dan?
No.
Okay, good. It's getting late. Okay, so we have some tentative dates. We'll hopefully have those finalized before our next meeting, and we'll send those out so they can be posted as well. And we can figure out which departments need to be notified of which day they're planning to come.
How about the voting?
We said that has to be done by,
April 12th.
so do we want to do it the night of April 8th, which would be our regular meeting?
We need two, just in case it goes long.
We could do April 8th. And April 10th is the Saturday if we needed a second session.
When is the school vacation in April? Does anyone know?
Christine, do you know?
It's usually around the 15th or so, but I'm not sure. This
She's looking
Yeah,
at it.
it's April 12th through the 16th.
Okay.
That would be the first, that's only if we need the second session. I don't believe we've needed the second session in a long time.
So April 8th, we're saying?
Yep, April 8th. And we usually start that meeting a little bit earlier.
Yep.
Elaine, do you remember how early we started?
6 o'clock. It was 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I have last year's
Didn't
schedule.
we- I was going to say the year before, I think we had pizza. Maybe we should have pizza again. What do you think?
Ding dong, delivery.
There's an ad on television now where you can order pizza from your local pizza place and they don't turn it upside down. How's that?
That sounds good.
All right. Okay, so we have a good working schedule. We can kind of fine tune it from there. Does anybody have any other items they need to bring up? No? Mrs. Tesoro?
Yeah, just thank you. It's First Selectman Vicky Tesoro. Just wondering if anybody has any questions, any vaccination questions or any other questions. I did another robocall right before your meeting. I'm not sure you heard.
Do you have any vaccination answers?
Well, it depends on what minute it is and how it has changed from the last minute.
Yeah.
So
Does change regularly.
it does, but by the second, actually. Yes, Steve.
Just real quick question is that I know that we're having difficulty distributing the vaccine to some people because of a lack of personnel. And based on the Trumbull Times article, I guess Shannon Pranger has coordinated with some other people that are certified to administer vaccination shots. Is there anything that the town can do from a financial standpoint or anything to help kind of expedite the process and make sure that the community, the citizens that want to have the vaccination are able to get it quickly?
Yeah, I mean, we're not having a problem with actually administering the vaccinations, Steve. That list that we have from Shannon has over 100 people on it. So we will be using some of those people. We also have our own nurses. So there's no problem running the vaccination clinics. We expect to get confirmation, or we may have already gotten confirmation that we have 1,000 doses for next week. So that we'll be running 3 clinics next week. And we will be, and we had a meeting today actually to address additional personnel in the health department so that to free up our health director and the nurse in there to be in the clinics when they're being run. So we have addressed that already. So anyone in Trumbull who's signing up through this VAM system will be able to get a vaccine. And the way it works right now is when you're registered on this VAM system, you can go anywhere in the state to get a vaccine. So, and that goes for anybody in the state. They can come to Trumbull. They can go to Trumbull, or they can go to somewhere else. A whole list pops up when your email comes to you and you register. You then hit another link and it shows where all the clinics are, and you can register wherever you want to go to get the shot.
Elaine?
Yeah, I had spoke to a few people today who were over 75, and they said they weren't able to get appointments. I registered on them on the VAM system. Do we know when Trumbull slots will open and they can go look for them? Because right now they weren't showing.
So they actually registered on the VAM system, Elaine?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I just mentioned, that I'm not sure if we got confirmation today of the 1,000 doses. There was a communication from the health department, and whoever our health director was talking to had to leave for an emergency, and she didn't finish her conversation with her. But I'm pretty sure that Lucy's sure that we will have the 1,000 doses. And once we know for sure, those clinics are loaded into the program, and they will be able to click onto the link and see them and get the vaccine in Trumbull.
So I'll tell them to keep looking out on going back to the website every day.
Tell them to keep looking. I will tell you just today that phone number went became workable, I will say, for you to be able to call as well into the state of Connecticut to make an appointment rather than having to go through the VAM system, because we know for seniors, especially older seniors who are not familiar with the internet and having to sign up and have an email, this is a very difficult process.
Right.
So they can either call that number now I sent out tonight, or they can call our senior center, for assistance, because the senior center will help them either get an appointment, sign up on the VAMs, or answer any other questions they have.
Yeah, the person who raised the issue to me had a 95-year-old father who doesn't even have an email. And if you use your email, then you can't sign yourself up. So she could create one for him. But they did ask me one other question. Are there any plans for the frail elderly to actually go to their homes and vaccinate them?
That has not been addressed yet, but what I would tell those people that have questions like that to please call the senior center. That's where all the calls are going into.
Okay.
And they will be able to answer their questions and help them with
Okay.
problems
I will
like
do that. I will do that. Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, and as I said, this is an ever evolving process, and things change literally minute to minute. So we are trying to keep everyone informed as much as we can without confusing people, especially the elderly. So the questions, just send them to our office. Kathy's more than happy to take all the calls, right, Kathy?
Of course. I will say, as much credence as you want to put in social media, this is Kathy McGannon speaking. Griffin Hospital today seemed to have a large number of open appointments. At least this afternoon, people were saying Griffin has plenty of appointments, call there. So that's a possibility too. They may be conducting a larger vaccination clinic.
Kathy, actually, it's Elaine Hammers. They are, as a matter of fact, Griffin has been set up. They were one of the first locations that were helping local physicians because the big hospitals are taking care of their patient, their staff. They
Right.
were running 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, scheduling appointments at 10-minute intervals. And they probably had enough people there to do 5 or 6. So they're really reaching out to the community.
Yeah, if you go on to the state website and the links are on our website, you will see other places that you will be able to eventually get this vaccination done in bigger places like Rensselaer. It doesn't pertain to us down here, but Rensselaer Stadium in Hartford is going to be used as a vaccination site. The Civic Center in Hartford, and there will be places in this in the our part of the state as well that would be opened up for mass vaccinations. But we're planning, hopefully, to be able. Well, we know we can use Trumbull High School next Wednesday and next Saturday for vaccinations, and I assume that we will have the 1,000 doses. So you'll hear more about that as well. But right now, the vaccinations, the only eligible people, according to our state guidance, are people in the 1A category, which are your health professionals, your long-term care facility residents, and first responders who are dealing with COVID-related issues, and people who are 75 and older. Those are the eligible groups right now to be able to get a vaccine. So when that changes and other people in that 1B phase opens up, we will certainly let people know. And most of those people will be signed up through through where they work. Their employers will load them into the system, and they'll get an email as to when they're eligible to go.
Excellent. Thank you for the update.
Sure.
I want to thank you all for hanging in again this evening. 2 nights in a row is a lot to ask. I do appreciate it. And I hope to have some follow-up information from our meeting last night with the Town Council Education Committee. So any information that comes my way, I will send to you. And if nobody has anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor, wave goodbye.
Aye.
Night.
Good night.
Everyone.
All right.
At all.
Stay safe.
Everybody, thanks, Maria.